with the Southeastern Conference moving to 16 teams starting in 2024, everybody seems to be excited about Texas and Oklahoma entering the league. But with that, there will be no more divisions in the conference. And today I'm going to tell you why. You might not want to be number one, and you might not want to be number two when the end of the regular season comes. Why that number 3, third place spot may be just right for you and your playoff hopes for your team. That's coming up on today's video, but first, my name is Brandon Taylor. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you like my content. So, let me explain this to you. So, like I said, there's no more divisions. It's the first time since 1992 that the SEC will not have any divisions. So basically, 1 and 2 is going to the SEC championship game. But also, in the new 12-team playoff model, the top 4 conference champions get an automatic bye. So, before I break this down, the first round playoff games will be held on college campuses. And then the quarterfinals will have those 4 teams that had the bye weeks that won their conference championships. That's when they'll start. And then there'll be semifinals and then the national championship, of course. Okay? So there are different reasons why I would say your team would prefer to battle for that number 3 spot in the conference. Let me start by saying this. Who's going to benefit from that? And what are the benefits? Okay? Number 1, if you're somebody like Alabama, if you're a team like Alabama, Georgia, LSU, I would even put a team like Florida in there, maybe Auburn even. You have teams that have been to the SEC championship in the past, that have experienced that. Some had victories. In fact, all of those that I mentioned had victories at some point in that game. But you got to look at it from one way. Conference prestige, program prestige. If you're in Alabama, Georgia, going to the SEC championship game is it's almost expected at this point. It doesn't really add anything to your program, your brand. It's just another championship game that you're in, okay? But if you're just below those teams, if you're an Ole Miss, if you're a team like Texas A&M, for example, this game, just going to the SEC championship game, much less winning it, is a huge thing for your program going forward. That's something that you can bank on. Hey, we made it to the SEC championship game, 2024, 2025, whenever that happens. So, in the grand scheme of things, that could be a big boost to your program. Okay? So that's one positive, but it's only a positive if you are those schools that are in that maybe second tier, if you want to call it the second tier. Okay? But the cons to that is obviously you can lose the game. You can make it to the SEC championship game after having a great season, incredible season, especially if you're in that second tier. But you could lose. You could lose that game, and that could jeopardize your at-large spot in the playoff. Now, I can't see that happening, okay? I think if you're good enough to go to the SEC championship game, you're good enough, and there's going to be enough 9, 10, 11 win teams that I think you're probably going to be okay. You're going to make somebody mad. Somebody might lose their position. But I think if you do make it to the SEC championship game, you're going to still, even if you lose, you're still going to make it to the playoff. But your chances are at jeopardy if you do lose. And there's also the fact that you're playing another tough, rigorous SEC game the week after the last week of the season, regular season. You go straight into this tough SEC matchup. You're going to get beat up. There's a chance for injury. There's always a chance for an injury. That's just part of the game. But that's kind of one way you have to look at it. If you manage to have a great season and get third place in the conference, you're going to be sitting at home. You're going to be watching Alabama and Georgia or whoever it may be, Texas, going forward, fight in that SEC championship game. Obviously, the benefit to that, though, you win, you get the first round bye, you get to sit back and watch the quarterfinals. You get to watch all those teams weed each other out in the first round. You also have a chance of playing, because you have a higher seed, of playing a weaker team of a higher or a lower rank, I should say. So there's that as well. Okay? But let's look at it another way. Okay? If you're a team, any team for that matter, that gets into the playoff with the at-large spot, you have a chance of hosting the first round. And I just know that hosting a first round playoff game, a game in your stadium, in your college town, is a huge thing. Okay? For the fan base, for the program, for the area, for the local economy, among other things. You're going to have the national spotlight on your town, on your stadium. The flip side of that is also you could get the draw just right to where you have to go somewhere. You may be the away team in that game, and where you would have a big disadvantage, I would think, obviously depending on who you're playing. But if you're an Ole Miss, a Missouri, and you have to go play somebody like Ohio State, and you have to go to the Horseshoe, that's going to be a tough task. There's no doubt about that. There's no getting around that. But the fact that you have the chance of hosting a playoff game, that's huge. I love that they have included that. I would even say the first round and the quarterfinals can be hosted at a college, one of the colleges. But I understand they want to rope the New Year's Six in there. I'm perfectly fine with that. But, that's just, it may sound silly. I understand that. And I know teams are going to always strive to be number one. They're not going to want to settle for third place. Because if you get to third place and you're any of these teams, and there's a plethora of SEC teams that have the ability to be that good, to make it to the big dance there in Atlanta. But if you get third place and you come just short, I know you're going to be thinking, well, we were so close. Because I know players in their heart, they want to be successful. They want to win every game. They want to have the chance of winning any and everything, and that including the SEC. But, I saw a interview, and here's a good example of kind of this mindset. Keith Carter, athletic director there at Ole Miss, said just recently, maybe about a month ago, he was asked, would you prefer to go to the SEC championship game, have a chance for that, first round bye, top spot in the playoff, but just have a chance to go to the SEC championship game, or don't, get third or fourth place in the conference and host a first round game there in Oxford? What would you prefer? And he said, obviously, the primary goal is to go to the SEC championship. And you want to win that game. And I completely understand that. Because that's the big thing. That is the pinnacle. The greatest conference, the SEC, with the Big Ten right there with them. But the SEC and the competition that the conference has, with all these wonderful teams that beat up on each other every week, to go to the SEC championship game is a huge honor, and it is just a kind of a reward of such a great season that you've had. So I understand his point of view there. But also, he did say that it would be incredible to have a home game in a playoff, in the playoff, first round, in the new format there in Oxford at Vaught-Hemingway Stadium. And I think athletic directors are really going to enjoy that. The goal is to win everything, like I said, but hosting a game, a playoff game, where you have the national audience watching you, watching what you do there, people that might not otherwise watch your games, you have a chance of broadcasting to the country, to millions and millions of people in this crucial time here, in these big games. Show the world what you are, what you're all about, and what your traditions are, what your fan base is like, and all things. So, look, we're going to have a lot more discussions on this as the season progresses, or as the year progresses, we get closer to the season, I should say. But that's pretty much it. We're in the spring. Before you know it, SEC Media Days will be here, the unofficial start of the college football season. And then it'll be fall, and we'll be playing these games, and we'll see what Texas and Oklahoma brings to the table, and we'll see how this new non-division format in the conference plays out. That's my feelings on that. Thank you so much for watching. My name's Brandon Taylor. We'll see you next time. Peace.